And then there's the question about protocols in the NFL and what happens if somebody tests positive or two, right? Let's just say something that has struck or stricken the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals happens in the NFL. What is the plan for that right now, Albert?
So the one thing they've talked about is kind of forming a committee that would report to Roger Goodell of people who maybe aren't connected with teams. So obviously, you take any competitive issues out of it. That would make those sorts of decisions. I can tell you, like a lot of teams wanted hard and fast, wanted some hard and fast standards. Like, okay, like we have X number of players that get it, that constitutes an outbreak. And X number of players get it, that, necessitates a forfeiture. Or this percentage of a position group goes down. Here's the protocol for how you go through that. That's what NFL teams were really looking for ahead of training camp, and they didn't get it. And my sense is one of the reasons why is so much has changed over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks. I can't speak for you, Rich, but I thought at the beginning of June we'd be in a much better spot than we are, nationwide with the virus.
No doubt.
So I think there's like an acknowledgement there that things are going to keep changing, and what makes sense as far as a hard and fast rule in the middle of August might not make sense in the middle of October. So I do know the one thing that they have discussed. I think this is probably the likely route they go is try to find a way to come up with a committee. And whether it's 6 people, 8 people, 10 people, put some medical people on there, put some people who have some experience with teams on there where, that committee would work with Roger to, be sort of that, emergency, that group that deals with the emergency situations where if you do have an outbreak right before a game, there are some people that you go to that'll sort of make the big, hard decisions on what to do about it.
So basically, like, we'll form a committee to deal with the hard decisions when we need to. But right now, there's no going into the season, X number of players here. This is what we're going to happen. We're going to cancel the game. And there's just no hard and fast rule is essentially what you're saying right now.
Right now, that could change over the next few weeks. Like I said, this thing's been changing so fast.
It's crazy, man.
I think, like the NFL, like that, but that's the thing is, like, and the way these, a ton of these people, Rich, the way they want it. They want to know the rules beforehand. You know what I mean? Like they want to know, like, okay, like, so if this is what it is, this is what it is, and we'll deal with that. And I just think that, things have changed so quickly and things have evolved over the last few months to the point where I do think the NFL wants to maintain some level of flexibility. So I'm not saying they couldn't put in something. They still have, 3 weeks before we're even into the practices towards week 1. You know what I mean? Towards that game week. But as of right now, it feels to me at least like they may be leaning more towards that committee approach.
And have you heard of any teams that have basically said, hey, we're anybody that goes out at night has to face the music within our 4 walls? Do you know anybody that's basically, or have all coaches kind of given the speech that coaches give to players before they go on bye weeks saying don't do anything that stupid, essentially? I mean, have you heard that?
Yeah, I know that they've used examples from other sports. I think what happened in Oklahoma was probably a good example too, right? Like if you look at, and I think Lincoln Riley's done as good a job as anybody, but he gave the players a week off, and they come back and they'd had 0 positive tests. I think they had a round of tests where they tested 150 people, had 0 positives. And they come back from that week off, and all of a sudden they've got 9 positives, and that's a program, again, that has done, I think, just about everything right when it comes to this. That sort of illustrates the risk out there. Obviously, you get the example of the Marlins. Everybody saw Sean McVay use that on Hard Knocks last week. And I do know that the message from every coach I've talked to at the beginning of camp was, listen, whoever is the most responsible team is going to be one of the teams that's standing at the end. And we have a chance to give ourselves a competitive advantage here if we're responsible about it. And so I think everybody has gotten that message and had that drilled home over and over and over again over the first couple of weeks of camp. There is a part of this, Rich, though, that, is going to be sort of variable that they can't control, which is what happens when kids go back to school in a couple of weeks. What happens when people's wives go back to work? There is a piece of this, of course, that I don't think anybody is going to be able to control, that it's just going to be sort of introduced as, again, kids start going back to school, people start going back to work because they're not in a bubble.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.